Hello again. This time I'm going to read a passage from Quite, my memoir. The time it relates to was a period when I was in the civil service. A bit of background. I was in the Manpower Services Commission, and in 1976, Britain suffered from a very, very high unemployment among young people. Harold Wilson was the Labour Party Prime Minister at the time, and we in Manpower Services Commission were charged with developing work experience programs to help the thousands who didn't have jobs or apprenticeships to go to. And we did that. However, by 1978, the unemployment problem switched to the adults, and we had another program for the adults called STEP, Special Temporary Employment Program. The emphasis was on the local authorities to come up with projects, and Harold Wilson was still the Prime Minister. The passage I'm about to read for you relates to a visit to the London Borough of Hackney by the Under Secretary of the Department of Employment. Hackney is one of those areas that had extremely high unemployment, and it was also a borough where lots of blacks and Asians lived. Mr. Golding, the Undersecretary of the Department, his mission was to try and save the Labour Party. And Hackney was one of those boroughs that he felt could help him do that. Now, I will mention Alan Jones in my reading. And Alan Jones was the London area manager. And I was sent to Hackney by the regional office to try and develop programs, STEP programs, with the Hackney Council. Alan Jones, the London area manager, told me straight out, "I don't want you here." And the reason was, he said, he felt he had people who could do the marketing job, but his hands were tied because the regional office decided that I should do it. Okay. He decided anyway that I should attend the meeting where Mr. Golding was going to speak at the London Borough of Hackney. This is a passage I'm reading. It wasn't long before the Labour government was under fire for not getting enough programs underway, and the Undersecretary in the Department of Employment, John Golding MP, for Newcastle-under-Lyme, paid a visit to Hackney. Alan Jones said I should be there. We met at the town hall, and Mr. Golding gave a speech about the importance of supporting the party's efforts to help their own residents. He began to criticize the Manpower Services Commission and the council for not coming up with enough projects in the area. He was more severe in his criticism of the council officers, berating them for a lack of moral judgment in not looking after their own people. From Alan Jones's wry smile, he seemed happy that I appeared to be failing in my duty to generate many projects. I jumped in with an explanation to the Undersecretary. I didn't know that as a civil servant I shouldn't have done that. I had been introduced to him before, so he knew who I was. I explained that unlike his market town of Newcastle-under-Lyme and other constituencies in the countryside, the officers of Hackney were not necessarily local. They came from all over the place, so didn't have the local feeling and concern for kith and kin as he was suggesting. I knew what I was saying was fact because of my discussions with them. Several of the senior officers jumped in, appearing to relish the opportunity to support me. One by one, they said they commuted from as far afield as Essex, Cambridgeshire, Hertfordshire, and Kent. Mr. Golding was wide-eyed, removing his glasses, his wire-frame glasses, repeatedly. He started to stammer as he vented his anger. He said how it wasn't supposed to be like that. Local government shouldn't be like that. It should be local. The officers should be local. Local government is for the local people to be governed by other local people. He added that they were probably being paid too much to be able to commute from so far afield. He felt the council should follow the lead of the metropolitan councils and employ local people at officer level, people who have a link with the community. He was furious. One of my colleagues told me later that I was lucky it turned out the way it did, because Mr. Golding said he was glad for the explanation which I gave, because it helped him understand why the London boroughs operated differently from the countryside local authorities. Alan Jones never said a word to me.